Hi, I'm Michael Hass with Live a Better Retirement Lifestyle. Today's video is titled Retirement Rollovers Explained, Part 2. In the first video, we talked about 3 of the 4 options in rolling over your retirement accounts. That first option was leaving the savings in your former employer's plan. The second option was transferring the assets to your new employer's plan. And the third option was taking the distribution in cash. Today's video, we're going to be talking about the fourth option, which is to roll over your 401k or your 403b or your 457 plan to your IRA account. Just like the other options, there's also pros and cons to making this move as well. Some of the pros are, unlike your retirement savings plan where you are limited to maybe 20 or 30 investment options to choose from but nothing else, the universe of IRA investments is almost unlimited. The IRA is simply an account that holds just about any investment you decide to put inside there, which could be something as simple as cash, CDs, treasuries, just about any stock, bond, or mutual fund you can think of. Some people put annuities, some people put gold. In more recent years, the very popular, very low-cost exchange-traded funds. You just got a lot more choices, thousands of choices to choose from. Plus, your larger IRA accounts, you'll have access to something called separately managed accounts, also known as SMAs. This is where you could have one or more institutional money managers build and manage a stock portfolio for you using individual stocks with no mutual funds at all. There's many advantages to this type of asset management, and I'll be doing another video just on this topic alone very soon. Plus, if you roll your assets over to your IRA, you can choose to work with a personal investment advisor who could proactively manage your money for you. Now, it's true that you can call somebody up at your 401k or your 403b or your 457 plan. You can call them and ask them questions about the plan and your account individually, and you'll get your questions answered. They're just not going to proactively contact you from time to time the way a personal investment advisor would do with your IRA to make suggestions. And as I always say, you should work with somebody who operates in a fiduciary capacity. And why I say that is, when you roll your retirement account over to your IRA, that movement of money will generate no commissions whatsoever. Instead, we structure the account and the relationship in a fee-based arrangement structured so that when you do better, we do better. It's actually a win-win for everybody involved. Plus, a good financial planner can provide you with an actual financial plan. And what this is it's a report that looks at your income, expenses, assets, and liabilities, and it projects forward with inflation to see how well your portfolio can provide you an increase in income throughout your retirement years. Because if you do wind up living 10 or 20 more years in retirement, you will need an increase in income just to keep pace with good old regular inflation. This is increasingly important, and we've seen inflation numbers recently that we've not seen this high in 40 years. I'll be talking about that here in the next couple slides. Some of the cons could potentially be the level of protection for your IRA account under federal law. A little over $1.3 million of your IRA is protected from creditors, which is scheduled to increase here in April of 2022, plus any amount that you would roll over from an employer qualified plan, that is if bankruptcy is declared. It's important to note, though, that your own state may provide some additional laws from additional protections to that IRA account. Also, you should know that you can only make one tax-free 60-day rollover per year. That's the indirect rollover we talked about in the previous video. This does not apply to these direct rollovers, which is a direct trustee-to-trustee transfer. You could make as many of those as you want throughout the year. Now, the next slide shows the blue line in the bottom here is pension income. Private sector pension income with zero cost of living adjustment. Public sector, meaning employees that work for federal, state, or local governments, you might get a small cost of living adjustment index of something similar that Social Security might give. But out here in the private sector, zero cost of living adjustment. So it's a good thing to have. A lot of people don't have pensions, but for those that do, it's important to realize that should you wind up living, again, 10 to 20 years or more in retirement, it's going to be the same check month after month, year after year. Meanwhile, according to AARP in the fourth quarter of 2021, the average cost of living adjustment for the last 11 years on Social Security is a meager 1.38%. Then, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics here in the first quarter of 2022, the Consumer Price Index, that we all know as inflation, is now up to 7.9%. We've not seen inflation that high in 40 years. So, if your income is down here not increasing at all, and it's only slightly increasing here with Social Security, but the real cost of living, the goods and services that we buy every day, is going up by 7.9%. Just to maintain your lifestyle, the difference here must come from your retirement nest egg that must be managed very, very carefully. And that's precisely what the financial plan is going to do for you. Again, we look at your income, expenses, assets, liabilities. We factor in inflation. The industry tells us we should use 4% for a long-term planning. The neat part about this is once all the data is entered, we can do some what-if scenarios. Well, gee, Michael, this is 4%. What if it drops back down to the 2% range we saw for some time? Or what would my retirement look like if it stays up here at 7.9%? You can play some good what-if scenarios on there. But once that report's printed, depending on the amount of data in there, it could be anywhere from 25 to 50 pages. And there's lots of good things in there. It shows your monthly and annual cash flow, assets, liabilities, net worth, a lot of good things. But the one thing I like to really zero in on is your retirement timeline that looks something like this. Here I've got a couple that tells me they want to retire at age 64 and 65. They would like to retire in today's dollars. They tell me they'd like to retire with $209,000 of income. This column is their Social Security. They'll be bringing in between the two of them $84,000. This is other income. This could be where your pensions or real estate income, if you got it, is listed right there. For them, it's $24,000. So they're going to be short almost $100,000 for their desired income of $209,000, which for them is not a problem because on the far right-hand side, they got over $1 million in a nest egg retirement portfolio. And then this column right here is how well that portfolio is growing by. So year two, just through regular inflation, the $209,000 needs to be now $215,000 to maintain their lifestyle. Between Social Security and other income, they're now short $103,000. Still not a problem. They've got over $1 million. And this all works out very well until they turn 78 and 79 down here, where they wind up needing $306,000. Again, that's the $209,000 through regular 4% inflation. They need $306,000. Between Social Security and other income, they're now short $151,000 with $142,000 left. So they're short about $9,800. Not too bad of an adjustment, but the big trouble is next year when they turn 78 and 79. They need $316,000. They're now short $161,000 with nothing to dip into. So what that means is they're going to have to live roughly on half the income they've been used to in the previous 14 years. A real hard adjustment to the lifestyle downwards, nothing anybody wants to go through. So now let's assume this couple at this age want to make up the shortage by going back to work. Let's assume they want to go back to work, but at 78 and 79, statistically speaking, either one or both of them might not be able to go back to work because of health problems. But let's assume that's not the problem. They want to go back to work. They're both healthy enough to go back to work. After being out of the workforce for 14 years at this age of 78, 79, odds of making that type of income to make up is slim to none. So the advantage of having these reports done years in advance is finding out years in advance rather than finding out when it's actually happening, because there's some room for adjustments. Now we can't make adjustments on Social Security because when you file those benefits, it is what it is. Same thing with pensions, okay? It is what it is. Desired annual income. Perhaps maybe they want to adjust their expectations about what they hope to spend. Perhaps maybe lower that. Or there's also the growth column. But you want to be careful too, because the last thing you want to do is increase the risk in hopes of getting higher returns. Because quite often higher risk winds up meaning lower returns. Okay. So this next page is an article I found from smartasset.com. And what it shows is the cost of the financial plans done. Average cost in this country range from $1,500 to $2,500. We'll call that a $2,000 average. For viewers of this video, I can do the financial plans for $1,000. And if you wind up becoming my client, where you transfer your assets over to me to manage, I can waive that fee altogether. So if you've got any questions about rolling over your IRA or your 401k, your 403b, or maybe you got questions about having a financial plan, or maybe you're interested in both, just click on the button below labeled Let's Talk, and you can schedule either a phone consultation or a Zoom meeting if you desire. And I look forward to speaking with you.